The protein paradox is back, and so is the confusion about it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so first of all, I want to just give a big shout out to Simon Hill. He just did an interview with someone, an expert, who has been studying protein for 25 years. So I really think we should listen to that interview. It's really, really good. The other thing I want to talk about here very quickly is women in perimenopause to postmenopause. How much protein do we need? Do we need to increase our protein as we get older? And where do we get it from? So first of all, how much protein do we need? The guidance is about 0.8 grams per kilogram of body weight, all the way to 1.2. But we have noticed that as we get older, we might want to add a little bit more. But this is of course related to how much we work out. So if you are a woman in perimenopause all the way to postmenopause and you are working out, which I hope you are, and by working out I mean lifting weights, we can go up to 1.6. Now, that is a guideline, and it depends really again on your lifestyle, how much you work out, and also your body composition to see what you want to do with your body, building muscles, losing fat, and so on. With this, there are ranges or lifestyle approaches that you have to take when you eat, your eating windows, and do you eat late at night before you go to bed? Let's maybe remove that part and not eat at night before we go to bed. So having lifestyle options and choices that really help us. Do we want to integrate more protein when we're doing our exercises around that time versus recovery? We can also balance it out that way. So understanding a little bit of our physiological approach to protein and how to do it. Now, protein is a fantastic macronutrient, and it's basically the name of a full composed building of amino acids. The amino acids are the building blocks of protein. When people say, where do I get my protein? And you hear everybody that is in that camp talking about getting protein from animals because it's a complete protein. Yes, animals' skin is a complete protein, just like our skin. I could eat my arm and I would get full protein because we have all the essential amino acids, so the 9 that we don't get from our body making it. And it's easy. But the thing is this, the body needs to break down protein into amino acids in order to use them in different ways, from building muscle to repairing tissues to creating hormones, everything, even in the cells. So the point is that you still have to break it down. So do we need to really get it all at once from animal products? Well, science says no. We can actually get enough essential amino acids, or the building blocks of protein, throughout our day if we have a varied diet that is really abundant in fruit and vegetables, grains, pulses, nuts, and seeds. Even the diet guidelines from big organization, a government organization that talks about dietetics, are talking about this. The guidelines, the food guidelines in Canada, which were also curated by my friend Brenda Davis, they are saying that more protein from plants is beneficial for health. And of course, you also get the fiber, which is an important nutrient to get into our body because that feeds the microbiome. I don't want to talk about fiber here, especially because it gets a very, very long conversation when we talk about why the carnivore camp are against fiber, but fiber is important. So we have long-term studies about this. We have longevity studies about the longest living populations who have little meat and a lot of fiber, and they're thriving. They live into older age than we do in a healthy way. Yes, some of them might be a little bit frail. We know that Walter Longo did a study about longevity and looked at the population in Sardinia, and men are a bit frail. Maybe they don't get enough protein. Maybe that's what we need to improve there. And of course, they walk a lot and they move a lot, that's great, but maybe they don't have a lot of resistance in their body. So there are things that we have to look at, but generally speaking, you can be incredibly healthy on plants and get everything you need, and the longest population proved that fiber is very important. So that is really, really key. I went a little bit off track with that, but I wanted to plug it in. But I'll talk about fiber again, because I've done it before, in another video just in case. So when it comes to us women, again, we can have this range 1.2 to 1.6 depending on our lifestyle, body composition, and what we want to achieve. In terms of when to eat it, protein is great to have first part of the day, to start the day after a night fast, and also pre-workout, post-workout. And again, you can get amazing protein amounts from your food. Now, we work without hormones. So there's some days that you maybe are supporting estrogen, so not having a lot of carbohydrates like starches. So maybe your protein will come from tofu and peas rather than going to the beans and the lentils and so on. You're gonna go to the tempeh, the tofu, the seitan. If you're eating gluten, if you're gluten-free, seitan will not work. But you have all these options. And quite honestly, they're fantastic because they are at a good amount of calories if you are not very hungry and you need to eat more. They have tofu has a little bit of fat as well. You get it, you pair it with amazing low starchy veggies, and here you go. If you are on the day where you have more carbohydrates because you're supporting progesterone, then you can have the rice with your pulses. You can have a starch like potatoes, sweet potatoes with your starches, with your pulses. So you get a lot of good stuff in, and your green veggies, of course, and you get everything you need. You get the fiber, you get the protein, and vegetables have protein as well. So you might not get a broccoli that has all the essential fatty amino acids, but you do get some. And if you have other fruit and veggies, you're gonna get all of them in a day, which is what is important, not in one meal. So we have demystified that. Also, the whole thing about food combining, not necessary. You don't have to have, I mentioned beans and rice, but you don't have to actually have it that way to get your protein. You can have them separately and they work just fine. So outdated science needs to be talked about. Now, I do want to give a red flag to something that Dr. Mindy Peltz also always shares about people having to get protein from meat, because she's really into it, and it bothers me because it's not true. But also she mentioned something on one podcast about having beef jerky as an easy way to have it. Even if you're having animal products, which I hope you are not, but if you are, definitely don't go for these processed meats because they are class 1 carcinogens. So it's very reckless to actually recommend them. They're correlated to colon cancers, which we don't want to have people have, especially for people then that might do a low fiber diet. It's like, it can't get worse. Now, I know that Dr. Peltz actually promotes fiber a lot, but still, beef jerky, no. Okay? No. She is worried about fish for the heavy metals, but then she gives people suggestions of having beef jerky without thinking about cancer. It makes no sense to me. So I really wanted to share this one. All right, guys, this is what I wanted to talk about. I hope it's helpful because I feel like we are getting confused again about the protein. And I have, in my podcast, The Green Life, I have really good interviews to talk about protein already. And I will have my friend Brenda Davis on the show again to talk about this indeed for women in perimenopause all the way to postmenopause. We're going to talk about what we need, how we need it, and how we can nutritionally support ourselves. All right, see you soon. Bye.